The 21-day C2C tour across Australia starts in Brisbane and ends in Perth, and our tour leaders are Clint and Charleen Lovell.
It's got the worst of the traffic out the road. We're into peak hour now. Look out. Woohoo!
What'd you say?
At present, we are heading for Cape Byron, located at the small seaside town of Byron Bay. Cape Byron in New South Wales and Steep Point near Denham in Western Australia are respectively the most easterly and westerly points of the Australian mainland. We have 6 passengers, Barbara and Gordon from Sydney, Marcia and John from Melbourne, and Moes and Cliff from Tarawa in the Republic of Kiribati. From here at Byron Bay, we'll be heading west over the Great Dividing Range through the magnificent New England district to Tenterfield. An emotional speech, which led to the foundation of the Commonwealth of Australia, was made here by Sir Henry Parkes in 1889. Shortly, we'll be back in Queensland, staying overnight at Glenlyon Dam. Because of heavy rain, 2 couples each will share 2 cabins at the dam. All very cosy, seeing we've only met each other about 12 hours ago. After Gundawindi, there'll be no more traffic lights until we get to Alice Springs. The town St George is in the centre of the district here that produces grapes, peanuts and cotton, and is referred to as the inland fishing capital of Queensland, particularly on the Balonne River. Tonight we are in Balonne Hotel, currently up for sale. Just a small town now and very quiet. Its main claim to fame is a large koala population in the trees along Wallen Creek. Many towns in this area use water from the Great Artesian Basin, and the first constructed bore in Queensland was near Cunnamulla in 1887. Apart from artesian bores, there are natural outlets from the Artesian Basin, known as mud or mound springs, but more about that in a moment. Uluru, population about 40, has an event in September and an unusual, even unique venue to stage it, boasting a grandstand, arena and judges box. Time now to have a look at one of those mud springs of the Great Artesian Basin, but Clint can do the honours.
This is the Uluru mud springs. It's as you can see down in here, you just push the stick down, you get mud underneath. It's quite soft to stand on, and it's the relief valve for the Great Artesian Basin. We're about in the middle of the basin here, I suppose, so they come fairly close to the surface, and around it's forcing the water up, but just here it forces the mud up.
Got very long.
Oh, look, he's having a bit of a dance.
Giving a bit of a mating.
Yeah, look at that. Look.
Dancing.
Oh, look at me. Bit of an attention seeker.
Our overnight camp tonight will be at Quilpie, established as a rail centre for the large sheep and cattle properties in the area. But first we'll call in at the historical Tombpine Hotel, where 1/3 of the population serves behind the bar. From Quilpie we will travel northwest into the plains of the Channel Country, and after spending some time at Cooper Creek we'll move on to our camp at Birdsville. Cooper Creek. It seldom rains here, but after northern monsoons, many of the northern rivers and Cooper Creek flood through hundreds of channels to reach Lake Eyre. Enormous quantities of water vanish into waterholes, salt pans and desert sands. The town of Windora is reputed to have grown up where it did, because a wagon loaded with stores and rum became bogged upstream in Cooper Creek. Anybody who wanted anything from its load had to come to the wagon.
Tell all the other.
Originally known as Diamantina Crossing because of the river, Birdsville originated as a depot for drovers and surveyors working in the Simpson Desert, and is now famous for its isolation, one remaining hotel, and the September horse racing when the population absolutely soars from about 100 to about 6,000. Reminders of the town's boom days remain amongst new developments, and the camping area, although basic, has the facilities to make our stay very comfortable. Birdsville is the last outpost before entering the endless sand dunes of the Simpson Desert, a reputed 1,100 in number, but I don't think any one of our group will be counting. The Simpson is the world's largest parallel sand dune desert, occupying about 150,000 square kilometres in 3 states. Our first obstacle is the Napanerica sand dune, known to travellers as Big Red. This towering 40-metre high sand dune on the eastern edge of the desert is thought to be the largest in Simpson and is higher than it looks.
They're not too bad. See, you say your name when he gets to you. Red. The phone number. Don't forget the phone number.
You charge $1 to take part of the locals,
Wicked boys, you on the unit?
Well, he's there letting his tyres down now.
Let them down.
More.
No worries.
If he can't get up this time, he's not going to try, he's going to go back.
Haven't got down too big, have I?
You won't get up here if you're changing gears going over either.
We'll soon see about that. Dune height varies between 10 metres and 40 metres, whilst the average spacing between the dunes, or the swale width, is approximately 500. The alignment of the sand ridges in the Simpson is established and maintained by 2 prevailing wind systems from the south, and the wind flow extends the head of the dune roughly northwards and is relatively self-sustaining.
Well in the little food. You did well in the little food. Yeah, momentum.
Oh, that's lovely.
In 1936, Ted Colson, accompanied by an Aboriginal companion, became the first white man to cross the Simpson by camel from west to east. A self-educated man, he was a fine bushman and had acquired a sound understanding of Aboriginal culture from people in the area. 10 years earlier, he'd opened up the first motor transport service between Healesville in Victoria and Melbourne. This flower is the buttercup fig face. In the clay pan, animals have left their trail. The emu, camel, birds,
Tracks over there. Yeah, you got them?
and as dingo, as Cliff said, and what looks like a size 10.
Well, I don't know about that one.
The wood from our fire came from here. A solitary tree, quite handy, and we've just about wrecked it. Didn't realise it was somebody's home. Life moves on, and so must we. Salt Pan's about 15 kilometres north of the intersection point of the Queensland, Northern Territory and South Australian borders. Geographically, this point is known as Popple's Corner.
Kick it.
Mr. Surveyor Augustus Popple surveyed the Queensland South Australian border in 1880, but due to a survey error, marked the intersection point with the Northern Territory approximately 315 metres too far west. This point was later relocated and in 1960 was marked with the concrete pillar we see today. We will now be on the French line, a tract formed by Geological Survey in 1960. A notable landmark are two low gypsum hills, known as the Upper Dinner Atora Knolls. In the background is Lake Tamblin, named after Ted Colson's schoolmaster. The knolls are significant historically, particularly with regard to local Aborigines, and geographically. Despite the isolation of the desert, people just keep popping up.
Oh, right. Oh, it's much the same that way too, I think. Yeah, which way did you come across?
They just decided they're probably going to go that way.
Okay, I'll get to that way. Have a good trip, mate.
Yeah, good. Yeah, very good. Okay. See you.
Bye.
Yeah, 7.
Brings up there. That'll take you right now, what? No.
This was one of Cliff's lunchtime stories. Wonga Junction, where the French line and the Rig Road join, and it's time now to re-inflate the tyres. At Perny Bore in Wiera National Park, an artificial oasis was created in 1964 when French petroleum struck an artesian flow. A wetland has formed over the years, although it's nearly boiling water pouring from the borehead. Cooling tank for this water is adjacent to the shower. What more could one want after we've set up camp? This is our last camp in the Simpson. And now how to do it, by courtesy of Moes and Cliff. Spring Creek Delta track, and the country has changed somewhat. On the western margin of the desert, we have gently undulating plains known as gibbers, salt pans and mound springs, with a dense pavement of shimmering stones, the remains of weathered rock. Dalhousie Hot Springs in Wiera National Park has its origins in the Great Artesian Basin and is an oasis in the harsh environment. In other words, it's a great place for a dip.
All day, I don't know how long I'm allowed to stay in here.
I think Barbara's coming.
It's warm.
Is it?
Yes. It is.
How long have we got, Clint?
Oh, as long as
Break the news, as long as we like.
Oh, this is delightful. How long have we been in here a while now?
For thousands of years, the Dalhousie Springs were an important resource to the Aboriginal tribes of the area, providing water, shelter, foods and medicines. A short distance away, the ruins of Dalhousie Homestead represents promises unfulfilled and is the resting place of Neil Bago, who took up this land in 1872.
There's a well in there that they used to get the water out of.
Really?
Yeah, with a pipe running down to give them water.
Did that come before the palms or after?
The palms came after, I think.
No, the palms were only small.
A new homestead was built some distance to the north and named Mount Dare, and later became part of the Wiera National Park. The homestead part of the Mount Dare lease now provides a service to travellers in this remote area. $7.50 for the maps, is it? Yeah. Okay. Catch you later.
Not shut.
What?
No. I think their trip took 2 weeks longer than it should because they broke down and the roam around.
Tonight, we're at the geographical centre of Australia, located on the Lilla Creek Station in the Northern Territory and about 22 k's southwest of Finke. The location is known as the Lambert Centre, after Dr. Bruce Lambert, who was Director of Australia's National Mapping. Watch for the blue dot on the map.
Pack her up.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
Had a couple of concealed ones in under a man the dog shit. Yes, it break our little hearts to see you out there changing wheels in the heat while we're sitting up there playing tapes. And
I don't know, I didn't like to ask her how much money she drove so far.
And why would the camel want to be here tonight when I pulled up?
You might be a cat supporter.
That looks terrific.
Yeah, it's tomorrow's lunch.
Hey? So it's tomorrow's lunch. I thought it was tonight's tea.
No, tomorrow's lunch.
Oh, gosh, that's good enough to eat for tea.
No, tea better. It's lemon chicken.
Is it?
Hey.
On the ground, the exact point will be easy to find. A 5-metre replica of the flagpole that tops Parliament House in Canberra. The flag supplied by Clint and Charleen. The railway up ahead is used by the famous Gan, en route to Alice Springs. No trains at this time of day, well, not from the south anyway. Land around Culgira was taken up for pastoral use in the 1890s and at one time was held by Stanley Kidman, and the station would have been one in the network of stations he owned, which eventually stretched almost the length and breadth of Australia. Just south of Culgira, at Victory Downs Station, construction of the Gun Barrel Highway was started in 1958, but more about this later. This is not the only time we cross the Finke River, said to be the oldest in the world, and it's not often it has so much water in it. Alice Springs, the booming heart of the Red Centre and home to about 30,000 Territorians. From Anzac Hill, looking to Heavy Tree Gap where the Stewart Highway enters the Alice. The Western McDonald's. And the main business centre. Was that Gordon? This church and grounds are a memorial to the late Reverend John Flynn, founder of the Australian Inland Mission and the Royal Flying Doctor Service.
Excellent.
It's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah. Really good stuff in there.
If you like.
well, there we are. We're here. This is first night here. We're a couple of days here. Alice Springs. And we're going over to here. And down to Weir's Rock. There's Kings Canyon there. And we've got a really long run. We're just over halfway. That's where we stayed last night.
What do you call it?
That's the centre of Australia. Yeah. It's quite a long drive down to Perth when we get to the most westerly point.
After a short stay at the Alice, it's time to farewell a couple of the locals and move on to Kings Canyon.
Hello there.
In West Australia and 100 or more kilometres to the east, roughly. Approaching Ormiston Gorge, Marcia, Cliff and Gordon wander amongst the Mulla to get their first view of Mount Sonder. Enclosed by 250 metres steep walls, the grandeur and colour of Ormiston Gorge has earned it the title of Jewel of the Centre. It's just after heavy rains in which the flow here would have been head high. Ormiston Pound is upstream and at present is not accessible without a lot of wading through deep waterholes.
Dad?
Tablecloth they will want in a minute.
Well, I'm not stopping anybody.
You are, dear.
Hey?
You are.
Glen Helen Gorge on the Finke River. Mount Sonder, the Finke River, and I believe Wild Tomato.
Where?
Top corner.
Uh-huh.
On the Morini Loop Road, which connects Hermansburg with Kings Canyon in the George Gill Range. A 15-minute flight in a Hughes 500 Helio by Barbara, Mars and John over Kings Canyon. While Marcia hangs on for grim death, we're heading for Carmichael Crag, one of the most prominent landmarks in the area. Following a steep climb, a walking track along the top of the canyon proceeds into the Lost City. It's an extensive area of rock domes, terraces, reminiscent of ruins from a lost civilization. The sunset only makes Carmichael Crag more impressive. The watercourse from Kings Canyon was discovered by Ernest Giles, and there is some doubt he entered the canyon at that time, being a bit concerned about Aboriginal attacks. However, the Aborigines were forced out of their sacred canyon about 1900, when graziers moved into the area. The velvety low bushy shrub George's indigo and one of the Guinea flower species are just two of the plants providing colour here.
Topper of some sort. It is marked for out here.
I'll lock the door and the bus is in there.
Time to leave the grandeur of the high red walls of Kings Canyon for the Uluru Tourist Resort and the Uluru National Park. On the way we pass Mount Connor, one of the three great tours of Central Australia. Our first glimpse of Ayers Rock, or Uluru, and up ahead the Olgas, Kata, Tjuta. These tractors are from Western Australia and will follow our route back over the Simpson Desert. Our tour is not the only one making a party of sunset at Uluru.
That's beautiful.
You're talking about me again?
Yeah, I'm talking about you again.
You want for a top-up?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
You going to follow it up?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Oh, well done.
What, somebody catch it?
Claims by the traditional Aboriginal owners were recognised when the Uluru Kota Tjuta Land Trust was granted inalienable freehold title to Uluru National Park in 1985. There are approximately 100 traditional owners to Uluru and 50 to Kota Tjuta. The park is run by the Commonwealth under an agreement with the traditional owners.
Anybody else?
Uluru Tourist Resort, and the facilities are good, especially with TV in the laundry block showing Australian rules and especially the Sydney Swans. This is Honig Rebilia. It has to be right, Charlene told me.
How we went on the side of the rock.
It is interesting to note that between 1931 and 1946, only 24 names were recorded at the summit of Ayers Rock. In the middle of the tourist season, it is not uncommon for more than 2,000 people to be climbing the rock every day, but not today. The island mountain is 348 metres high.
There's a feature in there.
Aboriginal culture especially, as represented in paintings around the rock, are located in caves well protected from rain, sunlight and wind. They're drawn with fingertips, crude twig brushes using coloured ochres, ash and charcoal.
No, according to the dermatologist, it happens in waves. In particular, are very much aware that they need to have a blend of the cultures for their children to survive and become citizens of seed gathering and picking the berries and collecting the flowers. The men have gone up their end to do their ceremonial thing. The women would prepare some food, take it down to a point where they were allowed to go, which was like the boundary of the two areas, and they would leave the food. If the fellows had caught a kangaroo or something like that, they would...
The Olgas, or Kota Tjuta, are located 32 kilometres to the west of Ayers Rock, and the tallest of the 31 domes, Mount Olga, is 546 metres above the surrounding desert. Well, it's farewell to the Olgas, or Kota Tjuta, and we pass through Lassiter country before reaching the Western Australian border. In 1930, Harold Lassiter headed west from the Alice Springs to relocate a gold-bearing reef he claimed he had discovered it back in 1897. The expedition was an absolute disaster, and he finally perished alone and starving.
Leaving the party, we don't know. But anyway, with John who had camels and provisions and so forth.
When Lassiter's camels bolted, he sheltered in this cave and waited for help. He was assisted by Aborigines for several weeks, but weakened by illness, he made an attempt to reach the Olgas alone and died 50 kilometres from this cave. Today, this water in the Hull River is a stone's throw from that cave. Just before the Western Australian border is the turn-off to the Docker River Aboriginal community.
It's part of the Sandy Blight Junction Road, which he built after the gun barrel highway. And it runs from the gun barrel, which is up in front of us, down to that the intersection back there through the...
To serve an isolated desolate area in Australia, half the size of Europe, for a rocket range, surveyor Len Bedell undertook the first task of building a road running east-west across Australia. He also selected the site of the Giles Weather Station downrange from Wiera for accurate weather reports. His small unit was called the Gun Barrel Highway Construction Company. The grader and remains of a Blue Streak rocket are here at Giles. Is this an anthill Gordon's found? Warburton Roadhouse is our stop tonight, but by request no video or photos. The map with the little blue dot is all we can show you. Mount Samuel on a disused part of the Gun Barrel Highway, and it's the morning after our stay in a fenced enclosure at Warburton Roadhouse.
That away.
Where's that?
That's down the road there.
Warburton Mountain, is it?
Warburton. We were there last night, yeah. But we didn't find the pretty young daughter, so we're going to move on.
Right.
At Notavillas Hill Boar, and I'm sure that Charlene's efforts were appreciated by the zebra finches. Bedell's Gun Barrel Construction Company opened up 2.5 million square kilometres of the Australian interior. This monument to him was placed on Mount Bedell in 1996, a year after his death. Mount Everard in the Gibson Desert Nature Reserve. Not much sand here, more of a light gravel, but a lot of ground cover. Haven't seen a car on the road all day, and the law enforcement here, I think, comes from Laverton, about 450 kilometres away as the crow flies. It's reputed to be the largest police beat in the world.
Be comparatively younger because they reckon that you'll age at a slower speed than everybody who stays on Earth.
So if I stay up there.
Get the light out of the... You're going to have the warmth of the fire. You know, paying money to have a good time. Very different. Thank you, my dear. It was basically, it was, you know, what I sort of thought of as a little kid, a policeman should be there to help break and enter. It was liable to be happening. Whereas in the daytime, when you went to break and enter, it was someone came home. You know, not much fun. Just a matter of taking a report. Yeah, in fortnights of 10 days on, 4 days off, but they could be and finish with a quick shift. So you'd finish at 6 a.m. and then start again at 2 p.m. and finish there. And then a couple more days. Then you'd have your 4 days off and then start night work again the following Monday.
You just get used to working night shift and you have to change to another.
Same place, same fire, but breakfast time at an early hour. What a life.
Probably a lot of people know about the road gangs and...
And they do.
Mount Everard Junction and the intersection of the Garry Highway, which comes from Windy Corner. Apart from the roads, nothing would have changed here much since the explorer David Carnegie passed through here in about 1897. A little bit of water tasting at the Geraldton Historical Society Bore.
Doesn't shop the next cop.
Pamunkalai Claypan, and we've just had some excitement. We saw another car. With a strong southerly blowing this morning, it's surprising how cold the desert can be, even with a clear sky. A Japanese motorcyclist dehydrated here several years ago. He wouldn't drink the water because he didn't like the look of it. The Gun Barrel Highway broke through to the Wooloona-Carnegie Road at the Carnegie Homestead in 1958, 1,500 k's from the Victory Downs station near Culgeera, where we joined the Stewart Highway. You remember, it was just after we crossed the railway. This 1 million acre property is run by Ian and Faye Smith. For campers, it's very pleasant here. Not often we've camped on grass. Faye's dog Toby follows her everywhere and has his own way of saying goodbye. At Wooloona, the word Stewart on this road sign is spelt two ways, but at least the distance is correct. The town, once the centre of a booming goldfield with 9,000 people, now supports 300 who are predominantly Indigenous.
That's about the extent of it.
Pleased to arrive at the normality of sandstone after an interesting drive from Wooloona. All the towns in this part of WA seem to have started onto the goldfield, and this is no exception. The smallest of 4 hotels, built in the town during the gold rush era, the National, is the only one still remaining. We're still here after a freezing night. It's still cold despite that blue sky. There are spectacular wildflowers in season in the pastoral area surrounding the town of Mount Magnet, and reminders of gold in the area, be it a relic of the past or a truck travelling to the massive open cut mining operations in the area. Many of the buildings in Kew are classified by the National Trust.
Oh, look at the post office, John. Isn't it beautiful?
Isn't that lovely?
Mush and chops.
Police station.
Isn't it? And the police station too.
50 kilometres west of Kew is the Walga Rock, the second largest monolith in Australia, about 5 kilometres around the base.
Here's another one. If you look at the it's repeated, yeah.
The little nest just up to your left there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Whichever way you want to look at it.
It has the largest gallery of rock paintings in the West, and one believed to show an early Dutch ship which visited our coast in the 17th century. Then again, it might just simply be Afghan art.
swimming.
Pull your head back a bit and ask where it is.
He's still going.
The Murchison River, and we're in the Shire of Murchison, which has 28 rateplayers but no town.
Smile, Mars.
Well, you're not taking me. Fresh rain or left over?
No, you're running pretty slippery now. Across there. I might lose my shoes in it.
Oh, not the shoes.
Sand on it probably wouldn't be too bad.
Turning off Highway 1 to Shark Bay, stopping at Hamlin Pool, where the old Flint Cliff Telegraph Station has now become a museum. Shark Bay was put on the World Heritage List partly because of the rare stromatolites. But our interest initially was the sand, this time being on a real beach.
Pound. Stretch the legs.
If he wants their bag, come and get it.
Okay.
We've had our last night in tents. Tonight it's back to 4 solid walls, but nobody's cheering. We were at Denham, Australia's most westerly town, and 120 kilometres from Highway 1. One way in, same way out. Tomorrow we'll backtrack part of this road and turn off to Steep Point, the most westerly point in Australia. The useless loop and useless inlet have solar salt fields and crystallisation ponds located in the inlet. It is an ideal site because of the high wind speeds and temperature, low rainfall and humidity, and all of this helps the evaporation of the salt ponds. Almost all of this salt is exported.
Yep. So
Fantastic.
This is our day to get out to the westernmost point.
Oh, fantastic. What fun, that's great.
Yeah, nice. You know, across the Simpson Desert and the Gun Barrel Highway and all those kind of things.
Oh, the gun barrel would be fun. How does the Oka handle that?
Very well.
These women here have all been kayaking on Shark Bay near Dirk Hartog Island and were hungry for news.
Anyway, well, they said it was okay and they took off, and as you can see, it's quite fine.
French salmon beside the remains of victim salmon.
Steep Point, the most westerly point on the Australian mainland. It is rough and rugged and ominous. Maybe it's the high cliffs. No wonder the Spanish, French and William Dampier turned away from these parts. However, we've achieved what we set out to do, go east-west.
We made it!
Byron's try rocking over there now.
Last night we returned to Denham, and now we're on the last leg to Perth. The distance covered, Cape Byron in New South Wales to Steep Point in Western Australia, was a whisker under 6,300 kilometres. The trip was marvellous, very well organised, no breakdowns, boggings or deviations, and we enjoyed good company. Our tour ends here at Miss Maud's Hotel, Perth, tonight, and tomorrow we go our separate ways.
say your name when he gets to you.
Red.
The phone number. Don't forget the phone number.
In charge of dollars, take money to the locals.